just 17 years of age, the first time he's ever raced at home in New Zealand, and he starts from pole position. Alongside him is Will Brown, who won here, as we said, in supercars. Nikita Johnson of the USA starts row 2 for M2. Arvid Lindblad, his teammate, starts alongside him. We've heard from him. Sagazeta from Peru, the first time we've had a Peruvian here, starts in 5th position. Patrick Huizenrode of Australia behind him. Then Michael Shin of South Korea, coming back for his second season. Josh Pearson. Enzo Ye of Chinese Taipei. Nicholas Monteiro starts in 10th position. Then it's Sean Rashid, also of the USA. We've got 5 Americans here this time. Sebastian Manson returning for a full season, the young Kiwi. What can he do from P12 in the 69? Then it's Crosby, who had a good season last year and again got past Castrol backing in 13th. Jet Bowling, he returns. He was most improved driver in Dallas, Texas, 14th. Nicholas Statti from Australia starts 15th. He's been racing in the States, as has James Lawley of Canada, who starts 16th. Barrett Wolf, another of the Americans, starts at the back, but he too is starting his career in FR for the first time. Conditions, Andrew, actually it's given them a favour because the tyres are going to like these conditions rather than the sun.
Yeah, it's going to help us as fans watching this one, watch it unfold. They'll be able to race that little bit harder against each other, and it's going to make it a lot of fun to watch. They'll be able to press on, and as this race keeps going, I think we're just going to see them come on more and more because it's the unknown for everybody. They're just going to be initially, they'll find their position, they'll get settled in, and then we'll start seeing a bit of battling later on, but I can't wait for it to get underway. And another thing to note as well, just on that, on the grid, so the inside line is a little bit dirtier because that's not the race line. So that's something that also Zach Scholar's going to have to think about, and also Nikita Johnson, well, that whole row on the inside.
Can you get a whole shot around the outside on turn 1?
It is a lot easier here because you've got that bit of extra grip on the outside. So, and then as well, when you're on the outside, there's so much road out there. If you can hang out there long enough, you're going to have the inside run for turn 2. So I would say that's what Will Brown's approach will be here.
They did some practice starts yesterday, and, well, we were watching closely as to see who could do what. This time last year, Roman Belinsky, the champion, won the first race, followed by Christian Mansell. Michael Shin, who's on the grid today, was 3rd, and Gerard Z of China took the second race as a rookie in the reverse grid. And so we're looking for something similar today, if he can pull it off, Scholar. And we'll soon find out. Scholar on the left-hand side, you should say, the dirty part. You can see the wind going from right to left. That could be an issue too, especially down the back straight. Up go the revs. Now, have we got a delay? We've got a yellow flashing light. Have we got a delay of start? I think so.
Yeah, just looking over to race control here to see what they're trying to pinpoint for this one. We can see Adam Summons here on the radio trying to get everything sorted. I'm just having a look from our position here, see if we can see any hands waving, see who has been affected in this situation. But yeah, a little bit awkward. You can see the yellow lights flashing above what was going on as well. So clearly someone not happy out there with the starting procedure. So what they'll do from here is they'll most likely send them around for another warm-up lap. So just as we thought, we're finally about to get this race underway, get this championship underway. We have to wait just a little bit longer.
Yeah, it was ironic, isn't it? Because this is how qualifying started. We had a red flag after 30 seconds when Nikita Johnson stalled his car and had a fuel connection problem. So just what they didn't want, a delay of start. Now, rules-wise, Andrew, only the starter can actually jump onto the grid right now. So the rest of the team, mechanics, team managers, engineers, mentors, you name it, they have to stay there. They can't talk to the drivers, and so it's really left to just one man from each team.
Yeah, interestingly enough, the first engineer to jump over, or the first mechanic to jump over the fence quickly and go straight to the car was actually Will Brown. So hopefully there's no issue with that car, and you can see...
Well, he's the first. Josh Greenwood's over there, and...
It's category manager.
Yeah. Let's head down to Greg Russ, see what the latest is.
JG, we need to double check this, but there is some chat from Motorsport New Zealand that they just want to double check the start lights, and that the start lights may not have been quite right or quite ready. We'll confirm that for you, but some talk that it has been put in this situation because of that.
Fair enough. Well, good intel. And but like I said, as a driver, you tell me, this is the worst possible scenario, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You're finally ready to get going. You've got your tyres up to temperature. You've done everything you can. You're finally on the grid. Nothing else matters. You're ready for a race start. And it would have just been a bit of an awkward one as well, because you don't see the green lights coming on and then the flashing yellow above. So
very rarely.
Whether there was some issue going on there as well. But end of the day, you got to remember, it's the same for every driver on this grid. They are all in the same boat. So you've just got to ride it out and know that you'll be back underway very, very shortly.
Gives me a chance to welcome our viewers from all over the world tuning in to the Toyota Racing Series. And we know that the likes of Chip Ganassi Racing will be tuning in because they are on the grid with Kiwi. They've just started a new relationship with them. We've had Red Bull here many years. We know Helmut Marko and the team will be tuning in to watch their 2 Red Bull cars starting on the grid. Many, many other potential team managers for these young Formula One hopefuls will be watching on. And the great Brendan Hartley, a multiple world champion in his own right, stands here on the pit wall watching what he did 20 years ago. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Absolutely, it is history. And, you know, just the amount of different memories that people have from this championship, from where it started to where it is now. And you can see them all getting ready to get underway very, very shortly.
By the way, if you're not from New Zealand, don't worry. That smoke that you're seeing in the background isn't somebody's car on fire or anything like that. It's just a volcano.
It's a little volcano.
Yeah,
yes.
That's, you know, it's just how we roll here down in New Zealand. But yes, there are hot springs. There is Brendan Hartley. And his father, I think it was 8th place he got in the last race. So he's watching his dad race today.
Yeah, pretty cool to see him out there having a go and doing a great job with it as well. So it's very, very cool.
They've cleared the grid again, and it looks as though, as you can see, the mechanics are quickly hot-footing it off the grid, and we should be getting underway. We'll have to do another formation lap, though.
Yeah, another formation lap will get us underway very shortly, and those tyre temps will be dropped right down again, but they've still had that extra lap, so they'll probably, by the time they get back around to the starting lights next time, they will be at a warmer temperature than they otherwise would have started the race. But
I would argue for Zach Schooler, this actually might help to just calm those nerves.
I think either way, as doing as well as he's done, I think he'll be one nervous fella sitting down there getting ready to go. It's just, from the years of racing myself, sitting on the grid in that situation, there's no other feeling like it. All you want to do is get underway. Every driver's in the same boat, Jonathan. It's very, very, nothing else beats that feeling.
Now, I want you to look down to 7th and 8th for a couple of drivers who I expect to come forward, if not 3. Patrick Huizenrode of Australia is one. Michael Shin, who got on the podium here this time last year, starts just behind. And Josh Pearson, the young 18-year-old from the USA, the youngest man ever to compete in Le Mans, 24 hours, and got a lot of experience under his belt. He's an Ed Carpenter development driver and will be taking part in Indy Next this year coming. So watch out for him. He was quick, but didn't make the qualifying as well as we expected after 2 days of really good practice. So watch for them coming forward. Also keep an eye on who gets forward, perhaps, into the top 8, because remember, if you finish 8th, you'll start pole for race 2.
Yeah, that's certainly a bit of a bonus as well. So there's always a bit of a battle that goes on for that 8th position to get the reverse top 8 position heading into the next race. You see them getting the tyres up to temperature. Nikita Johnson there. A little issues, started qualifying, they're behind him, and he's underway as well. So you can see him left to right, warming up those tyres, accelerating, braking, doing everything they can to get as much temperature into those tyres. And you'll see them as well as they get close to the line. They'll be pulling a few burnouts as well. Not because they're having fun, well, they might be having a bit of fun doing it, but you're just helping build that rear tyre temp as much as you can.
Shout out to Patrick Huizenrode. He had a steering issue with his car for MTech, and he's another one to watch. He only got one flying lap, literally warmed the tyres, one flying lap back in the pits, but he managed to get 6th place. So I'm really pleased for Bruin Beasley. Remember, they had a year out a couple of years ago, back last year, now back with a vengeance and in pole position, and no question that Patrick is also capable from 6th and coming forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And Michael Shin as well. We saw last year how he was just constantly there all the time, so I wouldn't be surprised, he's saying before, we might see him move forward a bit as well.
Take 2, as they say, as they reform on the grid for the first of 15 races here as you can see on the right-hand side of your picture, is the poleman. But, as you pointed out, Andrew, that's the dirty side of the track because the race line is where Will Brown is in the Red Bull 87. And you see there, Shaw Partners, Quadlock, Red Bull, all the sponsors. But it's the man just above him who wants to gain those sorts of names on his car with a performance today. Can he do it? All right, we'll go through the procedures again and see if these lights are ready to greet our drivers as we get ready for the 20th season of the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship. Out go the lights, away we go. Skula gets away well. And he's got an excellent start. He'll defend his position into turn one. Excellent start as they go into turn one. Round the outside goes Lindblad, trying to see if he can get past Brown in the early stages. They're side by side, the two Red Bull, but who's got the wings?
Will Brown just manages to come out ahead there. But Skula, what a start by him. Great launch off the line into first position. This is exactly what he needs to get his race underway. As you can see a few battling away. Seb Manson in the battle as well.
Well, good clean start for the first race of the season. And it's pretty frenetic in the midfield. There's Manson in the pink, blue and white car, fighting with Monteiro, the Brazilian. But out front, it is Zach Skula, the New Zealander, heading to turn 9 for the first time. This is a tricky corner with cold tyres for sure.
Hard corner as well, especially when you're right behind another car. All that dirty air just makes it a little bit harder once again. But Will Brown looking pretty racy straight off the bat. Nikita was right behind, Arvid Lindblad was right behind him earlier on in the piece, but already, well, we can see on the exit there, Will Brown a little bit sideways, trying to get the power down.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that Will Brown will want to put the pressure on early and trying to see if he can break the pack in this one. His return to single-seater racing starts today, having won in Formula 4, but that was a few years ago. He's forgotten all that, and he's since become a superstar in supercars. He's even done a bit of NASCAR at Sonoma last year.
Oh, he's just made a little mistake there as well. Got a little bit too much curve on the second to last corner there.
Lindblad.
Gave it that understeer, which made him a little bit narrow for the last corner. So now he's gone defensive, has to defend that position. He does have the pace. If he can settle back in through here, he's going to be all right to be able to start pressing on. As now, Arvid Lindblad now has that dirty air once again.
Nikita Johnson in 4th position in the 17. First of the Americans up there in 4th position. And Sagazeta in 5th position for Peru. Michael Shin up to 6th. And Enzo Ye in 7th for Chinese Taipei. Josh Pearson in 8th. Now, how far can Zach go? He's done very well at the start. In fact, he's put a gap now of a second between himself and Brown. That's pretty impressive in just 2 laps.
Yeah, very impressive. Obviously, Will Brown did make that mistake on that second last corner. So I'd say what we're going to see here is Will Brown's going to have a bit of an attack for 2 or 3 laps to see if he can make an impression on Zach Skula there. And if he can, he'll have a good attack. Otherwise, he'll settle back into a rhythm and start conserving those tyres for another crack later on.
Lindblad going very wide and throwing up the dust, a couple of following as well. The key to racing here at Taupo is tyre management. We've said it several times, but we saw it last year. Mansell made the mistake of pushing too hard too early, and it cost him.
Yeah, it did. He did it a couple times, and he pushed on way too hard, burned the tyres off it. And I'm sure these guys have done their homework coming over here. They've watched the races from last year, seen what you can do, how to look after the tyres, what's required to be able to be as fast as you possibly can over the race distance.
Skula setting the pace and was the fastest man on that lap. And you can see the gap for yourself. He's opening up that gap. It was 1.1, but he's extending that as the lap goes on. His lap at 124.7 compared to a 124.9 from Will Brown. Oh, lock up there by the champ.
Awkward corner down into the end to turn 7 to get the car stopped, and that's where that little bit of a lock-up came from.
As you can see, the field's starting to spread out now, but it's good, clean racing. And the only man who's not going forward, at least in terms of position, is Nicholas Statti. He's dropped to 14th now, and so too has Patrick Huizenroder, who's dropped to 13th after a 6th place start.
So So interesting enough, fastest lap of the race so far does go to Zach Sculler. So he's obviously pressing on pretty hard in this early phase, trying to build that gap. He was 0.2 of a second quicker than Will Brown on that last lap. That was the first real good indication of their race speed, because there wasn't a mistake from Will Brown on that lap before. So this is where it's going to get really interesting for us. How much is Zach Sculler pushing on? Is he burning up too much tyres? We can see it getting pretty tight down here.
Yeah, Patrick Huizenrode right past Jet Bowling there as they came down towards the chicane. And as you say, lots of side-by-side action here as we go into turn 1 again. Sculler leads from Brown, but the gap is now down to 0.9. He's caught up a bit. Lindblad still third, Nikita Johnson fourth, but it's all mayhem, absolute mayhem in the midfield.
Let's have a little look at the replay here. So just a little bit too quick into that right-hander. So what's happened there is the first car there's just gone a little bit late. And as a driver, you naturally end up trusting the car in front and braking at the same point as them. So he got drawn into that later braking situation and unfortunately followed it wide.
I don't know what happened to Patrick Huizenrode at the start, but there he is, the number 5, because he went right to the back. But as you can see, he's already making his way through now, making up some places. He's up to 12. He's got Crosby in his sights next. Excuse me, Monteiro in his sights next. So good recovery for sure. Rashid is the man, Sean Rashid, the American who's dropped all the way down to 17, just 17 runners for there. There's Jet Bowling. And let's head down to Greg Rust in the pits.
JG just had a quick word with both Andrew Edwards and Stephen Giles just in relation to Will Brown. We saw that lock break a little early on. I wondered perhaps if tyre pressures might have been down relative to Zach. They think this is a long game, right? Will hasn't said much on the radio. It's about delivering consistent laps for now. And I sense a confidence in them that as this wears on, Will have the pace to catch Zach in front of him. That's their belief.
Yeah, here's that lock-up. You can see it, Andrew.
Yeah, just a slight lock-up. You can see basically as soon as he started turning in there, what that does is that puts the weight onto the outside wheel, which lightens the inside wheel, and that's what creates the locking. Very, very easily done into that corner. So he would have known exactly what was going on in that situation. He'll be making sure it doesn't happen again, because you do not want to be doing that. But that experience, as we talked about with Will Brown, he knows how to play the long game. So as Rusty was saying just then, is this the start of him setting his race up, building into it, getting himself settled in for an attack later on?
Patrick Huizenrode is the man on the move in 12th at the moment. As you can see, Nicolas Monteiro of Brazil right there in front of him. But how long can he hold him off? The Aussie got David Brabham, not a bad guy to have in your corner as a mentor. Not been an easy run, having to change the car after qualifying. But as you can see, he's got bags of confidence now as he's all over the Brazilian. Now he comes alongside.
That's where it's so important to make sure you get a run onto that back straight. But it's so hard to get the power down with just how slippery it is onto that back straight. It can work both ways. It can work for you, or a few lockups as they go down into the last section.
Well, this is a good chance for Patrick here, because that lockup's going to slow him right down. And surely Huizenrode now down the inside will make the pass at turn 1. He comes alongside, and sure enough, the Aussie is through.
Yeah, so you can see all that locking going on into that last section of corners there. So it's a bit like that turn 7 with what happened with the Will Brown. You've got to do a lot of braking and a lot of turning all at once, and that's what creates that locking. So very, very easily done through there.
So then, everything's starting to settle down. Zach Sculler, the pole man, still out front. The gap 0.9 between he and Will Brown. We're watching this really tantalising battle, and we're also watching Huizenrode basically make his way through the field, having come from a bad start from the back almost.
Just keeping an eye on this gap between these top 3. It's very yo-yo at the moment.
Yeah.
Not that long ago, looking at the times, Will Brown was actually right up behind Sculler again, but now it's the opposite. Arvid is now right up behind Will Brown, so it's just moving around quite a lot.
Greg Rust down in the pit lane. What's happening, Rusty?
I'm at MTech Motorsport, Jonathan. Just had a word to Bruin Beasley now. It seems as though on the opening lap going into turn 1, in the thick of the battle, Patrick may have been pushed a little wide into the dirty stuff, and he's had to recover from that. That's the reason he's dropped those positions. There's nothing he's saying on the radio to suggest that he hasn't got pace. He's going well at the moment, but that's the reason why we saw him drop those positions at the start.
Great intel, and yeah, that's good news too, but that's why he's running so well. He's got no damage. Let's take a look at the start, and Andrew, what do you see here?
Yeah, fantastic launch by Sculler there at the start, and then Will Brown just managed to still be able to sneak in and behind, just with the line behind not getting a great start. But Arvid Lindblad around the outside long way around
there. There it is. Yep. Just push wide. You see it?
Yeah, you just see it just push that a little bit too wide. And that's the thing, because it's so wide in the end, up 2, 3, 4 cars wide. It's so easily done. So this view's going to give us a good idea.
And that's what happened to Rashid. He got a stall off the grid there, and that's why he's so far behind at the start of this race. So a couple of good stories there right at the restart. Sorry, at the start. 2 formation laps, plenty of drama. We had some drama in qualifying, and now we've got it in the race. But it's just starting to settle down. This is the first of 15 races, a long way to go in this championship. Still, personal best at 1:24.6 from Zach Skula, and he's still 1.1 seconds ahead of Will Brown. But you can physically see that gap has extended.
Yeah, and actually keep an eye on that gap to see if it stays within that sort of 2-second range. That's what Will Brown will be trying to keep it within, 2 seconds, to be able to have an attack later on. As you see Will Brown again, a heap of curve through that second to last corner there. That's why upset the car and pushed wide a little bit earlier on, but he's making it work now. And he's sort of nearly to the point now where he's going to have to start using his mirrors a bit to keep an eye on Lindblad behind him as well. So a bit of an awkward situation for Will Brown, wanting to conserve, but he's starting to get that pressure from behind as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Zach plays this, because I don't want to put more drama on it, but there was a nice shot of some potential rain in the distance as they headed back towards. You can feel the wind on you as we look at the runner-up from last year and the Grand Prix winner, Liam Skeets.
Brilliant to have him here. He's got doing a bit of coaching this weekend as well. Very, very fast driver, and watching on and helping a few out today.
Back to America to do some Indy next is the plan, with Callum Hedge, another one of the greats from New Zealand, who has now hopped over the pond to the USA and is racing hard there. So the 2 Red Bull guys going at it. Will Brown and Arvid Lindblad of the UK. What a sensation, and what a bold manoeuvre to tell Lando Norris, I'll see you in 5 years, and he's on schedule.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it? He's doing such a great job, and clearly with Red Bull on his car, they can see something in him as well, and he's clearly showing it again this weekend. As that weather in the background, it's actually looking like it.
That's what I saw. That was the shot I saw. I was like, wow, hang on a minute. Yeah, well, it was forecast, and the wind is blowing. We'll see. We'll see. Let's get back to the action. Nikita Johnson holding a strong 4th position, 3.7 seconds off the lead. And then Sagazeta of Peru in 5th, Michael Shin 6th, Enzo Ye of Chinese Taipei 7th, Josh Pearson in 8th. If he holds that position, Pearson would start the 2nd race in pole position. He won't be thinking about that right now, because 35 points for a win on down.
And just to give you a bit of a reference compared to last year, so Zach Skula with the fastest lap of the race so far, that is 4/10 faster than the lap times last year. So these boys are certainly pressing on out there.
And that, we should say, is on exactly the same setup, exactly the same tyres, no change in the cars in the year. We got Pirelli tyres last year, and so there is no reason to think there is an advantage this year than there was from last year. So they should be on the same times, but already they're quicker. Bit of resurfacing might have helped those quick times, but that's about it. There's your 23, Michael Shin up to 6th place, the young South Korean.
Done a lot of racing recently, getting some good experience in these cars and starting to understand how they work and how the tyre works as well. So might see him later on in the race as he starts going as Matthias. Sagazeta doing a good job in 5th position there. He's certainly one of the fast guys out there, and he's doing a good job just starting to understand how this car's working, and loving his racing, loving his time here in New Zealand.
Lest we forget, this man finished 4th overall at the championship last year. He had a good run, and he got better and better as the weeks went on, and everything that was thrown at him, he was able to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. He did a great job with it, and the name just started coming to us more and more as the season was going on. He was just always there, and you kind of get that feeling from him again this year that he will be there. And this track as well, you've just got to get everything so right within your setup, and to make sure that you're doing everything pinpoint accurate, because it's so slippery here, because of the high degradation. If your car's not quite on point, what you'll end up finding is that gets exaggerated. I've got a little bit of oversteer here and there. What that does is that just gets even worse as the race goes on because of that high degradation. We've got Greg Russ down the lane.
At this exit part of the lane where I am, you can see the cloud cover in the distance, which I think you guys raised a question mark about before. At the pit entry end, it doesn't feel as bad. Now, it's a little bit cooler. There is cloud cover. The team at M2 competition have told me they looked at the weather before the start of this race. They think there might be some rain, but not during the race itself. It'll come later today, if at all.
Good call. Yeah, we're looking from behind you, though. That's the shot we're looking at. But actually, the wind's going the opposite way, so I think he's right. We're not going to get that in this race. 11 of the 17 gone, and as you can see, the steam rising up from the sulphur from the ground, and of course they heat and make power out of that.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. It's not every racetrack you see that sort of stuff going on the outside, is it?
I know, you've got gliders going off in the distance. There's a race course next door, and of course we've got Taupo right here, the Motorsport Park. Now we're looking at the number 14. That is Josh Pearson. I mentioned him earlier, the Ed Carpenter development driver, just 18 years of age, from the US of A.
Patrick Hosenrader coming up through the field again after what happened on that first lap. He's made 4 positions, so he's on the charge, pushing on, trying to get as many as he can. And that's the other hard thing as well. When you're having to make all these passes, you're putting so much more effort back on the tyres as well to make them last. So it makes it pretty hard to come through, that's for sure, especially as the race goes on.
I'm sure his engineer is telling him, look, you've made it to top 10, 2 more places and we're on pole for the second race. Reverse top 8, just to remind you of the format here. Tomorrow morning we qualify for the feature race, and then the third race is at the end of the day, and that will be the feature race. Slightly longer laps, and it always ends in a real hurrah for that third and final race.
This gap's slowly starting to come down. Is this where we start seeing Will Brown putting on some pressure? Has he looked after those tyres enough to have something to fight with as the laps start ticking down? 5 laps to go.
Well, this is the battle I wanted to see, because Arvid Lindblad and Nikita Johnson have been literally swapping fastest times in testing and practice throughout the weekend, almost scaring Mark Pilcher, because he kind of wanted to hold, you know, his cards close to his chest. But the way they were racing was very close indeed. And now, bit by bit, Nikita Johnson is reeling him in. Schooler, though, doing a really good job. I know the gap is down to 0.8, but he's in control of this race, no question.
The car still looks good as well. It's not sliding around too much for Zach out front, especially if we keep an eye on him down and towards this last section of corners here, and Will Brown as well. This is the best corner to get a real indication of how their cars are. You can see how patient they are on the throttle. You can see Will Brown's car, a little bit of opposite lock on the exit there as he's getting onto the throttle, but the car at this stage does still look very good underneath him. He's been looking after those tyres nicely.
You can see how pensive the looks are at M-Tech as they nervously watch on to see what can evolve out of this one. Will Brown channeling his inner Liam Lawson. There's a reason for that, Andrew.
Yes, you might recognise that helmet of Will Brown's. That is actually Liam Lawson's helmet that he's got on for the weekend here with the high specification FIA rules that they do require for this category.
He likes lending his stuff out. He lends his boots, doesn't he?
You've got to use the correct helmet for this championship, a single-seater helmet. So on the phone, Will made it happen, got another helmet, and away he goes. So it's good to be able to see him out there.
Something threw up then, but Will Brown supercarring the rumble strips there. He's not afraid to go over them, but it doesn't work out quite as well in a single-seater. He talked to me earlier in the weekend about his braking points, because it was doing his head in. Because obviously going into 11, for example, he brakes in the 888 about 150 metres. Now he can go down to about 90. And this thing, he says, stops on a dime. It just stops as soon as you put your foot on it.
Yeah, and then especially with the downforce as well, it does change your braking technique that little bit more as well compared to something like a supercar. You've got to be super hard on the initial brake application while you've got all that aero load pushing the tyres to the ground. And you've got to work real hard at trying to make that work.
Watch this.
So we can see Will Brown using a lot of curve on the inside and then running out nice and wide on the exit as well.
Now, watch this. What's that?
Is that the...
Yeah, what was that?
It looked nearly like a reflection, like it was his mirror. Like
I think that was a piece of metal. But, I mean, it could be. You might be right. I don't know.
It's quite often that happens where the mirror reflective part inside does come apart. So whether or not it was from another car.
Well, if it came off a car, it would have been the car in front, and that is the leader, Zach.
Yeah, you can just about ask any professional driver. They've had at some point in their career a mirror fallout. It's something that happens more often than you'd expect.
So that's probably what it was.
That's sort of the way it caught my attention. Could be something like that as well.
Well, Michael Shin's doing a good job. He's reeled in Arvid Lindblad at the moment. As you can see, the battle here between the Red Bull car and the all-grey, of Nikita Johnson, I should say, the 17. And these two are going to go at it very quickly indeed. And there's no question about it. I was talking to Obi Johnson, his father, earlier, and he said the one thing that he knows and he's confident about his kid is not the experience he's got, but his racecraft. He said that back in karting days, he would sometimes put him at the back and say, no, you race through this crowd and let's get some racing done.
Yeah, that's a great way to go as well. There's nothing like racecraft. Not only place you can get racecraft, you can do tens of thousands of laps on your own, but being in a race, being there and doing it is the only way you're going to gain that racecraft. And that's where, again, this championship is so good for these guys, because they're 5 weekends into racing, 5 weekends worth of racecraft before anyone else even turns a wheel to start their main season.
Well, he's ready for that. He did GB3 and raced in the USA. They were flying literally across the ocean every week, he and his dad. And I also know that he's been racing and getting dispensation as such a youngster to race, Nikita Johnson. I first heard of him in the Yak Academy back in Formula 4 days, and he absolutely stole a march back then. He went testing with Jimmy Johnson, and he was 1.5 seconds quicker than Jimmy Johnson as he was getting ready to do Indy racing.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. You know, kid's got a future when he's able to go out and do that.
So we're watching Nikita Johnson. He's the only driver who's had major issues. Well, I say major, they weren't major, but 3 gremlins, if you will, mechanical issues in this run-up to the first race. He's dealt with it, he's kept his head, and look at him go now. He's currently in 4th position, and he's going to put the pressure on the Red Bull man in the closing stages. But just a couple of laps to go, and so far so good for Zach Skula of the UAE and New Zealand. His first and debut race here in New Zealand.
This gap between 2nd, 3rd and 4th has started to heat up. Nikita Johnson started to put all sorts of pressure on the back of Lindblad.
Andrew, where would you go for it? You've got little time here in 2 laps, but where's the best place to make it stick?
It's a difficult one. Down into turn 11 is a good option, and to turn 5 after you go all the way up over the section between turn 2, 3, 4 as we're coming up towards here is a good pass. Turn 1, yes, there's an opportunity there, but it's very hard to get a better run than the other cars behind you off that last corner. But from here, you can get close enough from this point. But again, that aero, the dirty air, makes it hard to stick in behind. But a good passing opportunity. If you can stay close as to where Zach Skula's coming into now, that is a good opportunity if you can make it stick. But that dirty air just makes it so difficult.
Well, Skula's broken the back of this. 2 seconds now with the penultimate lap. And I have to say, really impressive for his debut run.
Yeah, he's doing a great job out front. And that gap has just opened up massively. He's done a great job not only to stay consistent and stay mistake-free, he's actually extended that gap as well.
Keeping an eye on Patrick Hoysenrode. He's up to 9th now. Can he stop Pearson from taking the pole in the 2nd race? That's going to be interesting. But battles throughout the grid. Michael Shin now trying to put the pressure on the hurt on Matheus Sagazeta. An intriguing one, this one, but it's been dominated so far by Zach Skula, who started from the pole position after an aborted first start. They kept their heads, and now we're getting down to the business end. 3 races this weekend, 35 points to the winner. And remember, chasing the 18 super license points up for grabs if you can win this FIA championship.
Look at that gap that Skula's starting to pull now. He is in such a good position there. The car still looks good. Looks a little bit loose through that section, but easily done through there. As you watch him through here, he is in full control of that car. Those tires are still looking good. That is the best feeling, being out in front of a race like that, knowing that there's no pressure from behind. All you need to do is stay mistake-free, and it's all yours.
Well, this is an absolutely awesome performance. really, let's be honest, Andrew, we didn't know who this kid was, or most of New Zealand Motorsport really didn't know much about him. I think he came to light when he won the 70,000 in the shootout for the Foundation from Tony Quinn, and he has given back brilliantly in the first race.
Yeah, it's just awesome the way he's been driving. The Tony Quinn Foundation finding New Zealand's next world champion. That is exactly what is happening here. Zach Skula out in front of this race, doing a fantastic job. Everyone knows who he is now.
No question, just the last complex to come then. Here on the final lap, Zach Skula, the surprise in many ways, but not anymore, as he comes onto the front straight. That's a masterclass, and he truly has schooled the rest of the field as Zach Skula takes the win for MTech. What a moment for he and his team. Wow, what a start to the season, just what we wanted.
Yeah, that is impressive to go out there and control the race the way he did. What a drive by Zach Skula there.
No question, Will Brown will be happy with that, holding off Arvid Lindblad, and he too will be happy to hold off Nikita Johnson, his teammate, third and fourth. Mateus Sagazeta in fifth position, Michael Shin in sixth. But what can we say about this Tony Quinn sponsored Kiwi? In the number 3, guys, start writing your headlines, because that's a big one to be written for Monday.
Yeah, that's just impressive to see him go out there, and it looks like he's been doing it for years.
Yeah,
just the way even his start was really good as well. The way he got off the line was spot on. So to go out there and do what he's done is super impressive.
I'm going to go back to the history books over the 20 years and find out how many others actually won on debut. Won't be many.
No, that's very impressive. And what a confidence booster for him as well, to come into this as a driver who hasn't done a lot of racing like this, to be able to go out there and win. He now knows
he's capable.
He's capable of taking
and
not
he
only
belongs
the race,
in this group.
100%.
Wow, I am staggered. This is great. Let's take a look at the highlights right from the get-go. Problems for Rashid at the back, as you can see, stalling there. Does get it going, but a good start from Skula, who defended well against Brown. Lindblad tried to go around the outside, and Huizenrode is sent wide, and that's what sent him to the back. Bit by bit, the leader, Zach Skula, just started to pull away. He got 1.1 seconds and then extended it towards the end of the race. Brown, that was about the closest he came at turn 11 to the youngster. But Brown is in for 3 rounds this year, including the Grand Prix. But as we got to the midway point, as you can see, Brown struggling to stay with the youngster, 17 years of age. But Brown locking up a couple of times, pushing on. No question they were on the pace. Few mistakes here and there, but a very clean race. And compared to some of the starts of some of the championships we've had over the 20 years, I would say this is one of the cleanest starts to the year I've seen. Rashid got going, having had that bad start, battling with Lawley. And again, Will Brown just fighting the machine just a little bit as he gets used to going back to single-seaters. And quite a brave move to come as a champion and then throw yourself into an international field of up-and-coming Formula One hopefuls. Really impressive. But the most impressive man of the day, no question about it, it's the Kiwi, Zach Skula, who wins race 1. You could tell they're kind of pleased. Bruin Beasley, the last to greet him. And yeah, doesn't say much, Bruin, but he'd be happy with that.
It's great to see that for Bruin as well, to get that race win. It's certainly put them in good stead for the rest of the championship. And I actually ran with Bruin back in the day in this championship as well, so very, very cool for him.
So, confirmation of the results. Zach Skula with the win, Will Brown second, and Lindblad on the podium in third. Nikita Johnson of the USA fourth. Mateus Sagazeta in fifth, Shin sixth, then Enzo Ye in seventh, Josh Pearson eighth. Patrick Huizenrode got into ninth position. Good recovery by him. Well done to him. Sebastian Manson, another Kiwi. Top 10 for him, and Crosby just behind, another Kiwi. Nicholas Montiero in 12th, then Stati, the Aussie, in 13th. Jet Bowling 14th. Sean Rashid got up to 15th, having had that bad start. Barrett Wolf of the USA in 16th, and James Lawley rounds out. Don't say too much. That's his celebration. Let's head down to Stephen.
Smile says it all. Lights to flag win, race 1 in the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Championship. How good does that feel, mate?
I'm honestly lost for words. You know, first win in single-seaters, and like, what a grid to do it on, to do it like in my home country. It's honestly a pleasure. It's so cool.
Do you need oxygen? Because you're panting pretty hard about this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited. I'm not going to lie.
Let's talk about the race. believable. It was beautifully controlled. Did it feel like that in the car?
Yeah, you know, we got a good launch, and then we were just doing quali lap, quali lap, quali lap. The deg, honestly, I expected that to be more deg, but like the tire just stayed the whole race pretty much, and didn't really feel like it affected me too much.
Well, our expert commentary team said that was up to you racing that car beautifully, but you had a lot of pressure from Will Brown early. How did you manage that?
Yeah, well, I just tried to keep out of my mirrors. Overtaking's pretty hard around here, so I knew like if he was going to go for it, he would have to be a bit closer, and he dropped away a bit and like towards the middle, and then he started coming back, but he never really got close enough to go for a move.
Jace, briefly, when you won the Tony Quinn Foundation scholarship, you said it's going to be so much fun to race in New Zealand in front of your family. How good to see Mum here and just and all your fans.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's just not just my mum, my uncle, my aunt here, so it's so cool to be able to win in front of them.
Congratulations, P1. Get ready for the podium presentation. Zach Schooler wins race 1. Will Brown on P2 finishes P2. Boy, you were in a mood to throw that car around today.
Yeah, I was trying. I made a pretty big mistake in that last sector, but Zach did an awesome job. He got a great start off the line and just managed it from there. And as he said, it's hard to pass around here, but I was never close enough to have a crack. But it's just cool to be back out there in an open wheeler.
You're pushing it really hard, really, a couple of lock-ups. And were you concerned about your tyre deg at all at that stage?
Yeah, I got to learn not to lock up. I was trying not to, but I kept doing it. But yeah, I wasn't sure what the tyre deg would be like. We had a fair bit in practice, and surprisingly then it wasn't too bad. So I'm pretty happy with the car overall. I think we had a really competitive car, and it's cool to be on the podium.
Nice to see you there, mate. Well done.
Cheers, thank you.
And in third place, Arvid Lindblad. Arvid, welcome to New Zealand officially after your first race out there. How would you describe that performance by you?
It was okay. It wasn't there was amazing, but it was still a very good race 1. There's a lot to learn, so happy to move up a place and be on the podium, and grateful to the team for the car. But we're working hard overnight to try to make a step forward for tomorrow.
Okay, what were your concerns?
Well, it's just a few things on my side and a few things I think we can do as a team just to improve the performance. I think in general we were just not super fast today, which is okay. That's fine. But we'll work on it for tomorrow to try to make a step forward.
But a good indication of what you're in for over the next 5 weeks.
Yes, yeah. I've really enjoyed the experience so far. It was good fun out there today. I'm really enjoying the Taupo circuit. So excited for tomorrow and looking forward to the coming weeks.
Congratulations on P3.
Thank you.
All right, this is the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship, and time for podium race 1, round 1, live here at the Taupo International Motorsport Park. Your trophies today will be presented by Warwick Mitchell, the National Sales and Marketing Manager for the Post Haste Group, a foundation sponsor for the Kiwi Driver Fund and the CT Frock Series. And in third place, representing Great Britain, Arvid Lindblad. In second place, representing Australia and your current Repco Supercars champion, Will Brown. And your winner of race 1 with an immaculate lights to flag victory, representing New Zealand, Zach Schooler.